Okay, so today we are doing a book generator, a bookshelf generator, and um, yeah, this is kind of focused on the contest that we have going on, the Extend Omniverse contest, and one of the categories is scene authoring and layout tools, and so this is a bit of both, right? Or I mean, it's two ways to look at the same thing. Is we're authoring scene data with this bookshelf generator. It's laying out a book asset that I've created here, and so this is my book here. Add some light there. So this is a free base mesh that I got from the base mesh website. I didn't do any changes. I added a paper material and a fabric material, and it already looks pretty good, right? The other thing, can't see your Omnicode screen. Oh, I see what I did. Give me one moment. Wait. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't share correctly on Discord. Let me try that one more time. Share screen. Okay. So yeah, now you should see that it looks pretty good. Look at that fabric there. It looks like jeans, but red jeans, but from good distance, it looks like a fabric of a hardbound book. Cool. I think it looks great too. So we've got this asset, and I did a little bit of pre-setup. Let me keep that light in for now. I've also created, if you look at the root, the default prim here, I've also created variants. So red, blue, gold, green, gray, maroon, navy, and back to red. So these are variant. There's a variant set, and yes, this is being recorded, and it'll be available on Twitch, and then we'll also have it on YouTube on the NVIDIA Omniverse channel. So yes. So variant set, and all this is doing is it's setting up just changing the color on the fabric material, this fabric color. I can show you how that looks. I kind of played around with it. I did it manually, really. But let's see here. Best way to do this is we come over here, into layers, and if I click edit, this is the USD edit extension. I can open up any USD layer, and it'll convert it to USDA, and then I can look at the insides of it. So here's the shader for the fabric, and it doesn't have a fabric color defined inside of it. Instead, if I minimize these here, instead I have within the root in the world, I have a variant set for color, and here you can see for the blue it overrides looks, overrides the material, overrides the shader, and here it sets the fabric color. And so I've gone ahead and done that for each of the ones that I wanted. So admittedly, I did this all text editing here in the USDA. It was just the quickest way for me to get this done. But you can write code for this. We don't have full authoring for variant sets in our Omniverse apps yet. So I set up the variant sets because I thought it'd be the easier way to work with all of this. So that was the only setup that I did beforehand. And now we're going to use this asset to fill in a bookshelf. and then I'm thinking I'll be scaling these books a bit for a little bit of variety. I only have one asset with variant sets, but figured I could scale these a little bit without breaking the asset too much, but at least have some variety on the bookshelf. So that's the asset. We're going to start with the blank scene here. And then the other thing that I've done is I created a new extension, Matty Codes Generator Bookshelf. And this is just an empty extension. I dropped my book A USD here. I created a data folder, put the USD in there, and then I'll be referencing it from the extension. That way, if I ever want to share this with somebody, it will, the asset will come through along with the code, and they can have something working right off the bat. So, all good there. All right, let's get to coding. So I'm going to just use this button here and this function to do most of the work. So you can just drag and drop a USD file to that data folder, correct? That is correct. That's exactly what I did. I had it in my downloads folder, which is where I keep all my important files. And I just dragged it in there, and VS Code will handle that and move it and copy it to the correct location. So that was convenient. So I guess the first thing that I should show is how do I get access to that file. And I'm going to create one module here just so that I'm not working in the extension .py for a little bit of organization. I'm going to call this generator.py. And in here, I'm just going to start with we'll do a class. Bookshelf generator. And that's fine for now. Actually, let's put some code in the init function. In here, I will print. And the way that I can get access to that book USDA or that book A USD is by doing I can use file. So I'm going to import from pathlib, import path. This is just a Python 3 class for handling file system paths. And I'm going to start with file. This is going to give me absolute path to wherever this generator.py is. And then I need to go up. If I get the parent, it'll give me this folder. And then if the next parent would give me this one, the next would give me this. So that's 3 parents. And then 4 parents would get me up here. And then I could do data, book USDA. So 4 parents. And then I can do / data book A.USD. So if I did that right, if I print this here, should be good. And then over here, from .generator, import bookshelf generator. So if I initialize this in this click, then I should get that path, which is, oops, let's look at the console. Extension projects, bookshelf generator, EXTs, then that folder, data, book USDA. So that looks correct. And then if I wanted to, I could check to see if the file exists, and that should return true, but that's good enough for me. So some questions here. So my idea is to build this this bookshelf. It's going to look like an IKEA bookshelf, just square square wooden sides, and then the bookshelves. I'll be able to set how many bookshelves I want on for a given height, and then array the books on that. Are you guys more interested in if I start with the frame of the bookshelf, or do you want me to get right into the instancing the books on the shelves? Where would you prefer to start? Funky Boy's jumping in here. What does he say? No pref. All right, you're going to leave it up to me. All right, well, what makes more sense? Probably the frame, but I can be flexible. But yeah, the frame would probably be better. That way I get the right bounds and the right thickness for the wooden parts so that the books align correctly. So I can start with that. It's maybe not as exciting, but all right. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cube, and I also want to assign a material to that. I remember I looked up some materials that I thought would be interesting, and I found this cherry MDL, which looks pretty nice. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go ahead and copy these commands here, since this is already doing the bulk of my work. Select that one. Copy it, put it into my generator. So we're going to use that OmniKit command. And then I'm also going to create the MDL material. If we look at that, that's taking a material URL, the name of the material, and the path where I want to create that. That all looks fine to me. Yeah, I'm quite partial to the cherry as well. I did play around a little bit with the look that I was going for, and this one looked pretty nice. All right. Next up, bind material command. So this is going to take the material prim, it's going to take this material prim, and it's going to bind it to the shape that I choose. So let me just finish copying this, and then I'll talk about what that's actually doing. So I am cheating a little bit, but you know, we're in Omniverse. We can use these convenience wrappers to save some time, but I will be doing some down and dirty PixarUSD API, and hopefully before we're done today. If not, I'll be continuing this. So let's talk about what this is doing. This is creating a cube. That's pretty straightforward. Then it is creating the MDL. I'm telling it, name it cherry, put it in this place, or rather the MDL name is what it uses in the shader, I believe. No, maybe it's just the prim name. I'll need to look that up. And then the URL that it's pointing to is here, where the actual definition is located. And then the path of where I want to create that material prim, which is world. Go back to the stage. World looks cherry. So that one is doing that. And then the bind material is taking the cherry material, and it's taking the cube material, and it's setting this material binding relationship. So it's saying the material bound to this cube is now world looks cherry. And so that's all we're doing. Question from Funky Boy. How would you describe the first part you did when I double checked with the console that the path was correct? What would I describe that as? That's just all I was doing there was just building a file path to the book USD, and then I was just checking the console to make sure that I did that correctly based off of all these parents that I went up to get there. Hopefully that answers that question. All right. Looks like we got somebody on Twitch chat as well. Welcome. Books are love, books are life. All right, so we're going to use those. And I really just want to run them one after the other. So potentially what I can do here is just delete these and get the same result. If I save my file first, of course. So we're almost there. Well, it is there, but the material didn't come through here. It's assigned. That all looks correct. There it is. So it took a little bit of time to pop up. I did get an error. That looks unrelated to anything that I'm doing. So that's cool. Next up is I'm going to shape these into these panels. Sorry, I'm making sure that I don't flip it. Scale it into negative. So I want to do that. That's scaling in the Y, and then I also want to scale in the Z, right? If I'm doing a shelf, and that looks fine. The only thing is you can see the texture is scaling now, or rather is stretching. So I want to scale the texture as well. And that's just going to be a ratio of whatever I scaled here. So this is a 1 to about 6 ratio. So if I come over here on the shader, I believe there is a texture scale. So let me check over here really quick. Yeah. Texture scale. So let's check what these are doing. That one's stretching it even further. Or actually that's what I want, right? This is the one that I want to control. If I set that one to a 1 to 6 ratio, you can see here that looks a lot more natural. So I'll be doing that. And I don't need to touch Y. Y does that one. So if I were scaling in this direction, then maybe, but for now, we'll stick with this. And I think this is the right ratio, or the right size. Let's see. There's my book. So I do need to scale this down a bit in the Z. Nope, not that one. So it's going to be a good size here. Something like that, and then shrink that down. Just trying to get a good sense of what real world scale is going to be. That looks like a pretty good size. And then I'll need to scale that down to something like that. So it's a 1:5 ratio here between the Z and the X. So if I come back over here to my shader, switch that over to 5. That should be about where I want to get to. Would putting physics on all of this be complicated so that you could tip over bookshelves after? No, and especially because we're doing this all procedurally, we could absolutely set up physics on this, and I could have just done it once manually on this bookshelf asset, and I'm sorry, this book asset, and then all of the instances would get it, and then simulate accordingly. So that's definitely a good idea, and I think we could do that in the future. So got a good ratio for the texture scale. That's obviously going to be dependent on the X. So I think that the depth that I have for this shelf is going to be good. The X may change depending on, that's going to be user specified. And all of this will be user specified, but I just want to get it to, I know that this book is a pretty good real world size. So I'm using that for reference. So let's take a look here. This is in centimeters, and it started with, this is a 1 meter cube that I started with. So (20 centimeters). Okay. I don't think that will really matter. In the end, I'm just going to do a scale on a scale constant. So what I'm going to note here is just a wood thickness. And I might, it'd be better if I could just give it the exact centimeters that I want. But just to keep it easy right now, since I'm starting with that pre-built cube prim, I'm just going to give it that exact scale that I was using. And cool. So that's what we're going to be working towards. So once I've built these, I need to get the let's check what these return. Sorry, typing's all over. All right. And I'm going to break here, and I'm going to start debugging. So now, let's go ahead and delete all that. We'll keep that book for reference. And then I can step over, and the value for result. Sorry, I'm not there yet. There we go. Okay, so the second value of the tuple is the name of the prim. So is equal to result 1. And let's keep going. This one returns true and none, which is not very useful. And I needed something, I need another line there to be able to properly debug that. Let's just do that. Continue. Try it one more time. Result is true and none as well, so that doesn't return anything useful, which I don't need it to return anything. So we're good there. I can take this cube path and pass it to this one so that I can assign the material to the value that it returns. So now I'm not hard coding those values anymore. This is probably fine for now for the material path. Ideally, it would return a value for that. So we'll come back to that once we need it. Continue there. So that's all good. And then we can go ahead and start scaling the cube. So let's get a stage. And we need to import OmniUSD for that. OmniUSD. So this is the Omniverse USD API. This allows us to get access to the stage that's loaded in the app, instead of giving it like a file on disk the way that USD wants typically. We have these functions in order to get the stage that's already open. So I'm getting that stage that's already open, and once I've gotten the path, I need to then get the cube prim. Self.stage. Oh, and it helps if I do some type hinting here. Import from Pixar, import USD. We've got a question here. Is stage an empty project? Stage is whatever is currently in here. So if I were to traverse this stage, it would actually show all of these prims that are currently in there. So like I said, stage is the current state of the open scene in my Omniverse app, and if I did file new, then yeah, it would be as empty as it could be, as far as, you know, you'd still have the default light at least. So now I can do colon USD stage. So now I can do, I lost track of what I was doing, get prim, that path, and I can give it the cube path. Okay, so cube path is just a string, the identifier for the cube that I'm creating. I need an actual USD prim object in order to actually get anything done here. So that's what we've got. And we're going to need, we're not doing point insert, we're doing xform common. USD xform common API. There it is. Okay, so long story. For those of you that have never used this, I can absolutely come over here and get these attributes for translate, rotate, scale by just doing a get adder get attribute on my prim for and give it these strings: xform op colon scale, xform op colon translate. But this makes it a little bit cleaner to work with. So I give it a USD prim, and it gives me an API object to do some of the common API, the common xform operations that you would do instead of, because USD is really flexible and lets you add all sorts of transformation operations. This is like what you would want to do 90% of the time is just set translation, rotation, or scale. So that's why I'm using this. It's super convenient. I just say API.setTranslate, and I give it a vector and a time code that I want to set that for, a frame number that I want to set that value for, and that's all I need to do. So like I said, we're going to use this, and we give it the USD prim, which would be our cube, and then I can set, for example, scale, and that's it. So I've got my cube prim already. This is in USD geom, so that's a new import. And we'll call that xform API. And then I give it the cube prim. And then xform API. And I think I said I was going to set z to set scale to 1 wood thickness scale for the y, and z I said it was going to be, z is 0.2, I think so. So save that, run it, and something went wrong. Type mismatch expected gf vec 3 double or, so I do need to do, thought I could give it a list, but no, or a tuple, gf vec 3d. So that's a vector 3 of double, and that should do it. Let's delete these. And I got another error. Maybe timecode is required. Did I read that correctly? I shouldn't need that. Scale is float. Okay. No problem. F. Man, this is rough. What's going on? Type mismatch. It does want that. Does it want a timecode too? USD timecode dot default. I don't know that I saved that. One more time. I may need to, maybe missing something here. To not stick too long on this, I'm going to the USD GitHub project because my brain is not working. And if I search for code in this repo, I can find examples, usually in the tests, of different code that I'm looking for. Matrix, API set scale. This is what mine looks like. Blah, 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 set scale. I wonder. Yeah, it's definitely what mine looks like. Although I don't know why it complained about when I was giving it a float that it wanted a double. Let's explicitly make that. All right, one more time. Same business. This is the simpler way to do it. I could definitely try the other way, which is doing get attribute and set attribute. Let me just double check this API object, make sure I'm not going crazy. All right, so here's my API object. It's got the world cube. Maybe the cube's not there yet. No, it should be. There's my cube prim. Lovely. And then the functions are set scale. So if I do xform API dot set scale gf dot vector vec3 d 222. I misspelled it. Blah, blah, blah. Same error. All right, we may need to come back to this. Okay. Let's try the other way. Get the prim. We cube prim.get attribute xform up scale. Yep. And then you know what I think it is that this is a double. So this is probably going to work. Get that attribute, then we set it with gf 3d 2 2 2. Get rid of that breakpoint. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, here we go. 2 2 2. So I think what's going on, very funky, is that as much as I wanted our cube to use that xform API, the xform API wants to set a vec3f, a float array for scale, and what we have to find here is a double, a vec3d, and if I delete this, I think the ones that we have by default are probably all going to be double, unfortunately. So that kind of ruins all my plans for using the xform API for that. No worries though, because this works too. So back to our original plan. Man, that was pretty nuts. Sorry about that. I'll need to check with the dev team to see what's up with that. But I'm pretty sure that's where the issue that I ran into. So now that finally looks much better, which is pretty. Took embarrassingly long to just scale a cube. Cool. Any questions so far? I know that was kind of nuts. All right, let's move on. So now that I have that, sorted out, what I can do is I'm just going to use this for all of my boards, both horizontal and vertical. I think so. I'm just going to do a 90-degree rotation on Z for the horizontal one, since I want to keep the grain in the same direction. So all I need to do is scale in X for however wide or long I want these to be, and then rotate and position them to where they need to go. Cool. And I think I want to say the create mesh command may have a way to just set values. No, it doesn't look like it. It would have been nice if I could give it the dimensions of the cube right off the bat instead of scaling it. I could manipulate the points here. That would be an interesting option. But let's just go with what we have, because these are, you can see here that these are set to 50 centimeter positions, and then I'm scaling on top of that. So we'll come back to that, but I think we're on a good path here. And cool. So I need to do this 4 more times at least. I'm gonna store this in a variable just to not have this line run too long. There we go. And we'll come back to this. Scale. And width and height. So I think by default my width is at I'm going to call these scale for now. Later on I may want to change these too. Like I said, I probably want these to all be in units, not in, I mean definitely want this in units instead of scale, but for now this is good. This needs to be height. Okay, so width, and then wood depth scale. Cool. All good there. You know what? I really want to try the points before I go any further. So let's try that. It's a meter. I said that I basically want it to be, this is 20 centimeters thick, and this would make that 200 centimeters deep. So before we do anything else, points, and this is doing I'm just going to redefine this. So this number is just going to be if I set this to 1 and then multiply each of them by half of my width and height, that would do it. So I'm setting up this array just to give me the positions in semi-unit space. But it's going to give me the correct polarity, positive or negative, for each component. So we can store that as that's my points template. And just wondering if I can do this any easier way, because I already have that data on the cube. So if I could just convert that. Oh, that's not going to help me, because obviously I want to scale in different directions. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Okay, so for point in cube points template, I want to do scaled points. Append a new tuple, and I'm going to do let's start with thickness, which would be the y, or x, y, z. This would be width. All right. 1.5 meters, which is 1,500 centimeters. So width divided by 2 times cube points template, and I need to, no, times 0.0. And I'm just going to put this over here, x, so that's my x scaling. Then my y is going to be the wood thickness. It's 20 centimeters. Divided by 2 times 0.1, and then z is equal to the depth, which is going to be, I'm going to make all of these constants in a bit, but just to test this out, wood depth divided by 2 times 0.2, and then I can append x, y, z. And then if I did everything correctly, when I do points_dot set scaled points, that should give me what I want. Cool. Let's see what happens. So we got a big thing. We got an error. I forgot to put commas. That would do it. Yeah. So kind of something went a little wrong here. The thickness, maybe I went too thin. Oh, because I'm still saying the scale. Sorry. think that is about right. Cool. So yes, because I said I wanted a 1.5 meter long board, so that's why it's a little bit longer than what I imagined. We're still getting stretching here, right? So I will still, even though I'm with this other method, I will still need to, what is that? It's probably like, nope, that's the wrong place. Not translate, scale. I'll still need to scale the texture to fix the scaling that I'm doing. Oh, and I'm a little off. Not a little off, but a lot off. So let's check my numbers again. This looks about right. I mean, the numbers look right to me. No, but it's way off. Yeah, I'm way off because I'm off by 10 on these. All right. That's closer. But I'm still doing the scaling here, so that's throwing it off. That should be right now. Cool. So we'll have to cut it here. I need to figure out why that texture doesn't come in until I actually click on it. But I want to set the scale just to get it to look about right. That's what we're going to do. So we're not going to mess with the scale. I think this will be better because that way I keep my transform nice and clean, and I'm basically modeling in code by setting the vertice, the vertex positions. So right now you're trying to get your extension to correctly generate things in meters and centimeters. Yes, correct. Before I was starting with scaling everything, but this is going to be the better route, is that in my UI I'll be able to say, give me 1 meter by 2 meter tall bookshelf, and it'll do all the right thing. Before I was trying to use the default cube and compensate with scales, but this will be better in the long run, much easier to understand in the code as well. So so next week I will pick this up again, and I'm going to chase down that issue with our scale attributes. But yeah, I do want to do one more thing because I feel like I need to do this one last thing to prove that the issue is with the scale and not me. So 10, 5, 1, I don't know. Here we go. So if we look at this, you can see here that no error in the translate property was set correctly to 10.5.1. So it is, the issue is with the API and our default scale operator that we use in Omniverse. So I'll get that sorted out. Thank you for joining. And let's see, Funky Boy, you got something else? A little too advanced for where I'm at, but really interesting to see how I think things through. Still working through basic Python courses. Yeah, I know. I tried to explain things a little bit more than I normally would for you, but I know that this is definitely a lot if you're just learning Python. But yeah, hopefully I hope that you can continue to work on your extension for the contest, and and looking forward to what you make. Anybody else before we jump off? All right, well, thanks for joining. I'll see you guys around.